Just to recap, the acreage that we've been working on for the last year and a half, bought it a year and a half. The Me and my wife, we both grew up on acreage. I grew up on a farm in southern Minnesota, and my wife grew up in a small acreage in a small town in South Dakota. And we have kids. We have seven kids, six girls, one boy. It's exhausting. We I guess we always wanted to have that same experience for them. And for the last number of years, we've been looking for an acreage, and it's a struggle outside of the town that we're in, and to try to check off all the boxes, which might be proximity to the town that we're in, mature trees, with the big family that we have. In order to, we'd like to have a bigger house. Ideally, you'd have a number of bedrooms, 5, 6, 7 bedrooms, something like that. And then ideally, we'd like to have a house that has some character. All of this, and then we need to be able to afford it. And we were kind of giving up on it. We were just sick of the process. You're trying to find an acreage. We looked into moving a house onto an acreage, finding an acreage, moving a house onto an acreage. I think we got probably 40 miles outside of the town that we're in, which would not have been ideal at all. I'm so glad, so fortunate that we um, never went forward with something that was that far out of town. And then about a year and a half ago, this acreage popped up within 5, 6 miles of the town that we're in. It's a big old house. It's a 30 by 44 square house, and with a full basement under it, first floor, second floor, and then an attic that can be used as a living space. So depending on your calculation, I mean, if it was all finished, you could have 3, 4 thousand square foot in this house with no addition. So it's a big old house. It was built in 1920, and close to town, mature trees. I think a great location. We really fell in love with it. The problem was, I mean, it's a total fixer-upper. It's a total restoration. It's a total redo. A lot needs to be done. I mean, essentially everything. We bought it as is, contingent, no contingencies, waived all the inspections. I mean, it's full of stuff. Pipes burst. It's been sitting vacant for a number of years, but it looked like the bones were good. And the proximity of the acreage, again, I mean, to me is worth a lot. But the whole acreage, is run down. There's 2 sheds that basically we're going to try to save. There's an old barn that's in a pile. There's a chicken coop that's in a pile. There's an old shed that's in a pile, and everything is overgrown. Hundreds of trees that are like little, what are they called? Voluntary trees, or, just weed trees growing up because things haven't been mowed. The guy was very resourceful that owned it before us, very frugal too. And I think anytime he found stuff that might be free, he wanted to get it because of an opportunity that you might use it in the future, which I can kind of relate in some ways, right? But fast forward, a few decades, and he's older, and things get run down and never get used, projects never get done, things like that. It creates a huge mess at the acreage. So there's just so much stuff out there that just needed to be gone through. Countless, landfill type trips. Unfortunately for some of the stuff, you save all this stuff, and if it's not used, and then it just gets ruined. So in the barn, for example, it's in a pile. I mean, it looked like he probably had decades worth of stuff that he had gotten for free and saved and put in there that maybe decades ago would have had some value, and you could have used some of the stuff. A lot of old wood that he salvaged, I think. There's all sorts of wood on the property that he had salvaged, some of which I'm saving because it's I think it's still all right in some of these 2 sheds that we're going to try to save. But yeah, I'm just trying to provide some context of the situation. We've owned it for a year and a half, and we've been working on it for a year and a half. We've got a ways to go yet. but 90% of it we're doing ourselves. We're doing everything we can ourselves. Um, and yeah, I'm just trying to think of what else. But you'll see in subsequent videos all the work that we've done thus far. But I want to paint a picture of what it was like when we got it. In my mind, the potential is there. A lot of sweat equity, a lot of just sweat and hard work and tears and blood need to go into fixing this thing. But again, the location's good. The footprint of the house is good. The foundation is good. The bones are good. There were question marks when we bought it. We didn't know if the well, we didn't really know anything about it. Didn't really know if it was going to work or not. The old electrical service, cords are strung. I think they're old aluminum lines run from a pole into the side of the house, and then run down to old fuse breaker type panel. Not the new breaker style, but the old fuses that you screw in. There's a huge 40-foot fir tree that in a bad storm had, fortunately, it tipped, I don't know what degrees, tipped at an angle of, hanging into these lines, needing to be cut out. And so a lot of work needs to be done. Man, found a friend here. Looks like he's been. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. This is what we gotta deal with around here. Probably coons in the house. I think most of the windows are closed.